on the lifeboat, and I'd be willing to bet that some of you are on a different live feed right now. So let me check. Unfortunately, the first live feed, there we go. Here you go. The first live feed didn't work, so I had to go live a second time, which is always a little bit confusing. But let's see if we can get this to work. I don't know. We're going to find out. I'm going old school, people. Mark is, the other night I told you that Mark's daughter was having a birthday. Well, that was kind of the family gathering. The actual birthday party is this evening. So Mark and family are currently partying. So I'm going old school, which is always, I'll be honest with you, people. I mean, I would rather have Mark here every time. But when I go old school, I don't have to plug in earphones, right? Earbuds. And, that in and of itself is a real bonus, because I am not a fan of, doing the earbud things. I'm really not when I'm going live. Could somebody give me a 5x5? Hello, Trish Killian. Good to see you. Leisure Beast. Glad you're here. Joanna W. CW Terry. We got the whole crew. Glad you're all here. Hopefully you guys can hear me. 5x5. There we go. Seventh Son. I can set my watch by you, Seventh Son. You are as constant as the Northern Star. Makes me happy. It really does. Let's see. Since I'm going old school, I better go over the rules. First of all, I'm not a doctor. I don't play one on YouTube or anyplace else. Well, actually, I used to, but I don't anymore. And seeing as I'm not a doctor, nothing that I say here today is going to take the place of medical advice. In fact, we had a doctor on yesterday. What a great interview. That was awesome, wasn't it? I really enjoyed that. It's nice to have somebody that is far more educated than I am, answer some of the questions that, I try to answer here pretty regularly on the lifeboat, but it's always different when you hear it from somebody that spent most of their life in school, whereas I spent most of my life being an idiot, so, but I am not a doctor, and nothing I say is going to take the place of medical advice. Nothing takes the place of medical advice. You're way better off just talking to a doctor. Before you get sober, before you do anything, consult a doctor. Especially if your drug of choice is alcohol or benzodiazepines, it is super important that... Derek N., I am 5 years sober, man. Derek, that is absolutely awesome, man. I did not know. That is, congratulations, Derek. Good stuff, man. 5 years is a long time. It really is. That's right. That's getting into the power band. You know what I mean? According to science, that's about the time that our brain really starts getting normalized. So after 5 years, that is, my hat's off to you, brother. That is a long time. Congratulations, Derek N. People. Hey, Joe Birdwell, good to see you. People, give that man a virtual high five and a virtual pat on the back, because that's epic. It really is. 5 years is a very long time. So rules go like this. Number one. Let's see, which one was number one? Number one rule is we don't talk about politics. There's enough of that going on everywhere else on YouTube. You can pick any other channel other than being on Suboxone. You know what, Derek? That is not a problem here. You know what I mean? And if you caught yesterday's interview, it's not a problem anywhere. The only people that seem to have a problem with that are people who are, I'm sorry, not very well educated on the subject matter. That's really what it boils down to. Stacy Michaels, glad you're here, huh? Second rule is that this is not a religious channel. It's cool to say that you believe in God. It's cool to say that God got you sober, or that God got you through something. It's cool to say I'm praying for somebody. The whole my God's better than your God thing, or the other one is, here's why you're not going to heaven. All of that crap doesn't fly on this channel, so we'd appreciate it if you don't do that. Third rule is, it would really be good if you could keep your cursing maybe somewhere else, I'll be honest with you, people. I've been laying a floor in here. I was talking, to Alan Ballantyne earlier, and I told him that I have broken the no cursing rule 7,000 times in the last 2.5 hours. Putting this floor down has made me say things that I'm glad Mama Scoville can't hear, because they are just downright foul. But everybody curses from time to time. Don't do it here, please. We'd like to keep this family friendly. I mean, it isn't family friendly. We talk about drugs, but you know what I'm saying. And then lastly, mean people suck. So if you want to do the mean thing, if you're coming here just to trash me, which is pretty popular, or if you're coming here to trash one of the people on the lifeboat, we're just going to throw you out. So, don't do it. Just, it's kind of pointless stuff. People, if you've noticed, we've hit a growth spurt, which is pretty cool on the lifeboat. I would like to do a shout out to all of the people that came over from the Marfugel family. If you have never checked out Marf and gone over there and seen what he's doing on Marfugel News, I would recommend that you do. Alan Ballantyne, good to see you, brother. Glad that you're here. Alan's one of my favorite people. I know I say that all the time, but Alan's good people. He really is. So, before I get rolling, we're going to talk about friendship today, but before I get rolling into that, I want to just talk real briefly about yesterday's interview. Boy, oh boy, that was fun. It really was. And the good news is we're probably going to get the doctor back. He was very amiable to the concept of coming back and doing some more stuff. Dr. Jetmore was, I don't know, he's a great interview. He really is, because he's just, he's open and honest. Charlie Murphy, good to see you. And Flaming Jackson, glad you're here as well. Boy, now they really are all here. He's just a really open guy. You know what I mean? He's really easy to talk to. And, often when you talk to doctors, even if they're not trying to, they tend to talk down to you. You know what I mean? And I think again, I don't think they mean to do it. It's just that they live in a different world. The language they speak, everything is just, it's very different from the world that we live in. And for that reason, very oftentimes when you do interviews with a doctor, my doctor I go to is groups in Indiana. Oh, okay. So yeah, that was Dr. Jetmore. He was in groups as well. My partner Mark goes through groups. Very cool, Derek. So you take your own UAs and all of that. I think that is such a cool concept. I really do. Trusting the people in the group to be honest. I think that, and I don't mean to be honest, trusting them to be honest, I think is something that brings people along fast. We're so used to not being trusted that when people start to give you a little bit of that, of that respect, I think more often than not, it's a benefit as opposed to a hindrance. We've seen so many times here on the lifeboat where, people come back and talk about how they relapsed or, they had a misstep or a stumble or whatever. We're a virtual group here. It's so easy for somebody to just come here and talk about how they're still sober when they're not. But the fact that we all trust one another, I think, is the reason that everybody does come here and say, you know what, I had a mistake, I made a stumble, or whatever the case may be. But yeah, I like the group's concept. It is not who I go through, but that's it's not because I had anything against groups. It's just by nature of where I am in the country. I went with a different provider. Very similar concept, by the way, to groups. But groups was not available when I started here in Nevada. So that was the reason that I did not go that route. But I've heard nothing but great things about groups from everyone. But the Dr. Jetmore interview was amazing. Mark and I had a ball. And I think the doctor enjoyed himself. When we shut the interview down, for any of you who have done an interview here on the lifeboat, when we're done with the interview, we tend to stick around and talk a little bit afterwards. And in the case of Dr. Jetmore, we also talked for probably 20 or 30 minutes before we started the interview. And he's just a guy that really, in a lot of ways, we're really on the same page. He loves what we're doing on the lifeboat, which I think is great. But his view of not just addiction, but medical assisted treatment and, all of the things that sort of go along with that. Sorry. At least I don't have to leave during the middle of a live stream anymore. I love that. I really do. Glad you're here, Miss B. On being bad and eating sugar. Well, it happens. But, some of the things that Mark and I have been crucified for since starting the channel, obviously one is the disease concept is something that, has been an issue for a lot of people to hear a doctor describe it. Because, opinions are opinions. Everybody's got one. But to hear somebody that has spent as much time as Dr. Jetmore has, not just in med school, but, in the field of addiction, working one-on-one with addicts, to hear him describe how he views addiction, Suboxone, medical-assisted treatment, like Derek N right now saying, I'm 5 years sober, with the exception of Suboxone. I think we're going to get to a day where you don't have to say that. I really do. I think we're going to get to a day where people, when they describe sobriety, there doesn't even need to be an asterisk or a hash mark next to it or anything else. With love and respect from Northern California, historical gold mining town. Thank you for helping us. I love you all very much. Tim Reynolds, glad to have you here. Hey, Jack is back. People, here's the thing. Jack is back, literally. In fact, Jack would be sitting right here next to me, but he's slaving away in the other room. He came down here to help me. And I think I talked about it the other day, how I was going to trick Jack into coming down here and helping me. But as it turns out, he jumped at it. And it's a good segue. See what I'm doing here, people? See that? I'm going to segue right into this. But today we're going to talk about friendships, what the subject matter is, if you caught the thumbnail. Before I do, though, let me see. Let me back up here 2 seconds. Who was that? Tim Reynolds. Tim, I'm in northern Nevada, right? So I'm right up by the border of Northern California, right? We're up near the Tahoe, Truckee, area. So we're right in the same neck of the woods here. So maybe before the end of the show, I'll get Jack to pop in here and say hello. But he did come all the way down from California to help me. It's friendship is something that I think takes a hit when you first get sober. One of the things that I think we all go through is the feeling that we've lost our friends. Because for so long, so many of the people that we spent any time with, 40-foot Garbageman says, tonight he is on his phone, people. It's going to be a little bit tougher for him to respond. When you first get sober, you're left with a decision. And the haters, believe it or not, people, there are guys out there that don't like me. I don't know if you've heard, but there's a fairly decent amount of people out there that don't like me. And one of the things that the haters like to do more than anything is to come here and try to trip you up. They try to ask a question that they're ready to pounce on because they've got an answer, and ready to go. And one of the questions that the haters always bring up is, if I've got a friend who's on drugs, should I walk away from them, or what should I do? Here's the thing, people. I can't answer that question for you. I really can't. If I have a friend who's on drugs, I would walk away from them. I would. I would do it as lovingly as possible. I wouldn't do the, hey, screw you, get out of my life kind of a situation. But the most important thing in my life is sobriety. Because everything else, anything that I'm doing in my life, the linchpin for all of those things is sobriety, right? Relationships, friendship, spirituality, making a living, having a hobby, everything. Jack can probably attest more than anyone else. You add heroin to my life, and I explode like a hand grenade. It takes a very, very short period of time for me to jump the rails on the track, and the level of out there that I get is really bizarre. It can start with one hit. I put heroin on a piece of tin foil and smoke it, and within 3 weeks I'm carrying a pistol, breaking the law, doing everything wrong, because it rewires my brain. It's something that for me, that really is the case. It's something that I'm not the same person. So when I start to view friendship, I can't have somebody in my life that's using. Now, if somebody in my life has a drinking problem, there are things that don't threaten my sobriety nearly as much. I have friends that drink. I have friends that smoke pot, things of that nature. For opiates, I can't have them around. Plain and simple. It's too much of a risk. And I usually tell these people that I care about them. I tell these people that I'm worried for them. Hey, family, just for today, 5/21/19. Andrea, if that's your sobriety date, congratulations. That's awesome. I was just talking about this to a friend yesterday, how some friends you just never hang out with again. That's the reality. And something, people, as I have some amazing, amazing friends that I've made through the lifeboat, and I talk about them all the time. There are people that I truthfully have come to love, through this channel, that are very much a part of my life on a regular basis, on a daily basis. But from my previous life, from the life that I lived when I was getting high, I have one friend. That's it. I have Swiss Vapor. Good to see you. I'm 3 weeks walking the way of sobriety. Oh, good for you, dog. That's awesome. Yes, alcohol, cigarettes, and social media after year one. Good for you. I have one friend from my past that I still associate with. The rest, by way of full disclosure, a lot of them are dead. A lot of them overdosed, died of old age. A couple of bizarre deaths. I know that as I'm saying this, Jack is probably thinking of one person in particular. Young kid, just, it wasn't an overdose. It wasn't anything else. He just wore his body out. Like, he literally just destroyed his body in his 20s. I'm living the life, Alan, and loving it. Excellent, Joe. Proud of you. I have God and no friends, but so worth it. You know what? Here's the thing. Giving up friends that are in the life, people, when you look back in hindsight is always 20/20, right? But when I look back at the people that I spent time with, the reason that I only have one person from my previous life that I'm still friends with is because the rest of the people, the only reason that I spent any time with those people was because of the dope. Truthfully, there was nothing that I had in common with these people at all. I'm gonna tell you a story real quick. There was a guy that I hung out with probably every single day of my life for probably 9 or 10 months. I knew him longer than that, but we became like running partners where we were out committing crime to come up with money as a way to get drugs. And for about 9 months, I don't think I missed a day hanging out with this guy. If you could see him, and I'm going to describe him, and you know what? If the wrong person ever comes across this channel, they're going to know exactly who I'm talking about. But he has Doc Martens tattooed on his face for sideburns, right? You know what Doc Martens are? These are they're the big lace-up boots that are very, very popular. Great boots, and I'm not picking on anybody that wears them, but they're very, very popular with some white supremacist gangs. For whatever reason, super popular with them. And he had a pair of them tattooed on the side of his face right here for sideburns. On the top of his head, he had a swastika. True story. He had 2 lightning bolts on his throat. And on his back, he had a tattoo of Hitler, Joseph Mengele, and for the life of me, I can't think of who the third person was. But playing poker as a full back piece tattoo. I tell you this because that's not one of the people that I would ever spend time with. Everyone I grew up around is dead or in jail. Lucky I broke the cycle. Good for you, Derek, because I'm telling you, it's a lot less rare, honestly, than especially for our drug of choice. You know what I mean? If you're on opiates, that's pretty much the standard story, is that most of these people are dead. Good old Boots. Saw that guy get stabbed. True story. Yeah, I was in prison when that happened. Jack had told me the story. But this is, if you looked at this person and you would say, you hung out with this guy every single day for 9 months? Again, hindsight being 20/20 and being removed from that equation. This was a person that hated everyone. You know what I mean? Like, he hated everybody. He, by class, you just go down the list. He didn't like black people. He didn't like Mexican people. He didn't like Jews. Like, everybody. He just hated them. And I am not that guy. You know what I mean? Like, I got through prison without joining a prison gang. I don't hate anybody. Well, I shouldn't say that. I hate a lot of people, but I don't hate them because of their race or their nationality or their religion or any of those things. But the fact that I could spend time with this guy, and if you had said to me back then, a decade ago, is this guy a friend of yours? I would have said, yeah, he and I are tight. We had nothing in common except heroin. That was it. And one of the realizations of getting sober was, coming to that realization was just almost staggering. I started to realize that, what the hell am I doing hanging out with any of these people? Like, truthfully, there's nothing that these people and I have in common other than drugs. And this is a true story, people. I remember being in prison, and I phoned Jack from inside, and he said, "Hey, how you doing? What's going on with you?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm wasted." Like, I wasn't too concerned about the phones, and told him I was high, told him I was getting high in prison, and he said, "I'm done. I'm not doing it." And we all say that. I assumed that this was one of those things where he was getting sober for a few weeks and then he would go back. "Hey, M. Hunt, good to see you, bud." So as it turned out, he said to me, I quit using Suboxone. And I showed you pictures of the truck that he wrecked. Like, that was the turning point. That was the pivotal moment in Jack's life, was when that truck wreck almost killed him. And it literally did almost kill him. 5.5 years no drinking. I'm proud, but at the same time, embarrassed and wish it was a lot longer. I'm 46, drank heavy for 20 years, lost everything, hospitalized, acute kidney failure. You know what? We talk about this a lot on the show. I completely get exactly what you're saying, but that big piece of glass in the front, right? That's the one you got to stare through. That little mirror thing, the rear view, there's a reason it's this big. Have you ever stared at that thing and tried to drive forward? You'll get in a car wreck. And it's the same thing in life. You really cannot... I'm sorry. There's no chance that you can, get productive and live a productive life if you're staring in the rearview mirror. And that's just one of those things that is an absolute fact. 2 forms of negative peer pressure. Direct peer pressure. You know what? I can't. Without glasses on, I'm blind as a bat. I'm so sorry, people. Let me see here. Direct peer pressure. Example, here, try this. You don't want to be uncool. Indirect peer pressure, speaking about going to the bars or the party. Yeah, absolutely. Both of them are very, very real. But so, talking to Jack on the phone and having him tell me that, he had gotten sober and gone through Suboxone. And I remember saying to him, I'm not sure if that's a route I'm ever going to take. At that point in my life, I wasn't even considering getting sober. You know what I mean? I was in prison. I was getting high. This is just, who I was. That's, kind of who I was and who I planned to be at that point in my life. And this is a true story. Jack just said to me, well, we're probably not going to spend any time together. If you're not going to get off of this stuff, I can't be around you. And I'll tell you something. It was a motivator. It really was. This was because of all of the friends that I hung out with. Number one, most of those people came and went, and Jack didn't. Like, from the very first time that we started spending time together, he was the one constant. He was the one friend that I could count on, and literally count on. There have been so many times in my life that I needed help, and the one person that I never had to worry about letting me down. And which was pretty amazing in the drug world, because in the drug world, you can't count on anybody. But, so I feel blessed that I have somebody from my past that I'm still friends with. And more so because, not only, I love him. Jack and I we're very, very close friends. In fact, I've given him a really smoking gift. I wish I had it out of the safe because I would show it to you. But, now that he came down here, I got him a beautiful watch. You wouldn't believe it. It's a J.J. Lecoq, beautiful, beautiful old vintage watch. But not just because we're really close friends, but it's a constant reminder. We don't when we talk about the past, there's usually a chuckle or two. There's a little bit of laughter that goes on, but there's also a really serious amount of good Lord, what were we doing? And I think it helps keep me on the straight and narrow. Michael Carbone says, remember, addiction is not a choice. Or is it a disease? It is a response to human suffering, a means to escape that suffering. I'm going to disagree with you on that, Michael. Wholeheartedly. And I agree with almost everything that you said. And it's a disease. It's a disease of choice. The fact that the reward center in the addict's brain does not work the same way as the reward center in the non-addicted brain very much makes it a disease. And people get really upset when we say this. The doctor talked about it yesterday, and I think he did a beautiful job explaining it. But people get upset when I call it a disease because they feel like it lets addicts off the hook. Like you say, well, I couldn't help it. I was born with the disease. Obviously, I was going to do heroin. I was born a heroin addict, right? I had the disease. It's not what I'm saying, and it's not what anyone else is saying. If you have type 2 diabetes, right? If you have type 1 diabetes, you're born with it. Nothing you can do. If you have type 2 diabetes, you are born, you live your life, and you make some decisions that you shouldn't. You eat too much, right? There are a lot of things that you can do. You live a sedentary lifestyle, you start to put weight on, and all of these things lead you to type 2 diabetes. However, I could be right next to you living the exact same life, right? I could be eating the same stuff. We could be sitting on the couch together. The two of us could be doing everything exactly the same. I'm not going to get diabetes because I don't have the predisposition to that disease. That person does. Take the same two people. I'm drinking like a fish. So is my diabetic or soon-to-be diabetic friend. As he develops diabetes, I develop alcoholism. Why? Because I have the predisposition to that disease. He doesn't develop it, doesn't have that predisposition. That's why you see two kids in college that spend 4 years together getting wasted every single day. They split the bags, right? Give me $100, we'll buy some Coke. They split it every day doing the same thing. Graduation day comes, one person goes, the other person goes straight to work, does nothing wrong, says, I'm done with that. Well, it's 4 years of partying. Good times though, right? The other person can't put it down. No choice. Can't stop. Because one has a malfunctioning brain. You don't get a pass. The fact that I had the disease of addiction, if I had never tried heroin, the fact that I had the disease of addiction wouldn't be a problem, would it? If I had the propensity for the disease of diabetes, but I kept myself at 105 pounds, right? And ate really well and exercised, I'm probably not going to develop type 2 diabetes. Doesn't mean that it's not laying dormant inside my body, waiting for me, to overeat, not exercise, and do a lot of the things that leads to type 2 diabetes. I know that this is, but here's the thing, Michael, regardless of what we call it, right? We can split hairs, we can call it semantics, right? But the truth of the matter is, everything you said is exactly right. Except I am of the firm belief that there is a difference between the addict's brain and the not addict's brain. It doesn't give him a pass. I ended up in prison because I was an idiot, right? I broke the law. I went to prison because I deserved to go to prison. That predisposition has yet to be discovered. Still just a theory. Well, I'll tell you what. I guess we'll agree to disagree, right? The anecdotal evidence is overwhelming. It's overwhelming. But you can call it whatever you want, Michael. The last time that I did this on the air, I have received since then, 150, right? Death threats. Because calling this a disease makes people really angry. The majority of the medical community, in fact, I mean, it's referred to as the disease of addiction. If you look in a physician's desk reference now, it is called the disease of addiction. The definition of a disease is what? Right? I mean, by definition. Anyway, this is a road that every time I go down, the peanut butter hits the fan. It really does. No matter what you want to call it, right? You can call it call it a Super Bowl. One guy's got a Super Bowl, the other guy doesn't. Whatever you want to call it. There's a reason, whatever that reason is. Some people get addicted, some people don't, even though they exhibit the exact same behavior. The other option, I guess, is that maybe these people are just weak, right? That there are a great many people in this country that believe just that it is the inability for an addict to say no is just a weak spirit. You know, their constitution is not as tough as the guy that says, I'm not going to pick that back up, right? I'm just not going to do that again. But whatever the case may be, the doctor who was on yesterday liked to talk about how once this starts, I did a term paper on alcoholism as a brain disease back in college. Think my third round of outpatient. Done a few rounds of outpatient myself. But whatever it is, Michael, I think that we probably agree on a lot more than we disagree on. But whatever the cause, there is definitely the addict's brain does things that it shouldn't. It rewards the individual getting high for bad behavior. It gives them the same feel-good chemicals that normal people get from things like childbirth, success at work, love, all of those things. And whatever causes that, it's a pretty bad thing. I think we can all agree to that, right? We're all on the same page as far as that goes. Now, that was a bit of a rabbit hole. Back to the subject at hand, which I believe is friendship. And, I said I feel blessed that I have somebody from my past that I still get along with, that still gets along with me, that will still talk to me, the life that I led. But I think that, the reason that Jack and I have been able to remain friends, plain and simple, is the fact that we're both sober. I think that if either of us decided to go the route of getting high, it would be the end of our friendship. And then I don't know that it would matter which one of us did it. Okay, I guess that's how doctors feel. We should get the input from the counselors. Good night. Oh, goodness. Did I just offend you? Are you that thin-skinned, Michael? Really? Wow. With all due respect to all of the counselors, you know what? I'm not even doing this. People really, this is where we're at, right? This is the world we're in. We can't agree to disagree, Michael? Good Lord. Honestly, people, there are days I'd like to throw something against this camera and, probably more death threats. Join the fun. Whatever you want to call it. My goodness, I got a good night out of that, people. Was I just a jerk? What did I do, huh? I am sorry you have to deal with negative crap. You know what, Tim? Here's the thing. Michael has never been negative up to this point. People, there was a day and time where you could disagree with one another. There was a day and time where you could agree to disagree. Somehow we just have hit a wall on that. Right now, if I don't agree, whatever. It's kind of a sad situation. It really is. But I just got here. Happy Saturday. I like your shirt. Thank you, Sarah. You know what? This is, if I'm not mistaken, this is Tommy Bahama. I very rarely bust this out because, as you know, I kind of got a thing for polo. But I been laying floor all day today. People can't handle discourse, apparently. Well, you know something? Here's the thing, people. You don't have to agree with anything that I say. You don't. The purpose of this show is not for me to dictate to you anything, right? The purpose of this show is to bring a bunch of like-minded people together. Then I come here and I talk for an hour, and it gives you people an opportunity to discuss things back and forth. In the process, people become very close friends. They lean on one another, right? This is usually what happens. I agree to disagree with my alcohol addiction. There you go. I got one of those shirts when I was in the States. Loved it. Well, you need to come back and get some more, Alan. You know? In fact, you should have been here yesterday because you could have helped me with my floor. Alan got a good laugh. Alan and I were going to do a call today, but I took a picture of my house in disarray, and he got a laugh out of it. The guy said, I enjoy the information that you share. Thank you, the guy. I really appreciate that. I do. Aw, Jack and Tommy, love you guys. Hey, I know her. Jen, good to see you. That is Jack's considerably better half. And I do mean considerably better half. Tell you a quick story, too. When prison sucks. I think I mentioned that a couple of times. But prison's awful. And you spend... I was blessed. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. I've told you this in the past. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. But it wasn't fun, It was just what I needed at that juncture in my life so that I could get sober. But while you're in there, you don't eat well. I heard about you through Marfoogle. Hey, Johnny, good to have you here. Love Marfoogle. Love the fam. Great people at Marfoogle. Glad that you're here. So the food is awful. It's one of the worst things in prison. Like, honestly, one of the things that really jumps out at you is just how bad the food is. And I did all the ordering for one prison in their kitchen. I handled all of it. And the food that you buy is it's not even fit for human consumption. And people, I am not being funny when I tell you that the food shows up and written on the side of the box, it says not for human consumption. Swear to you. I'm not lying to you. Ask anybody that's been in prison and they'll tell you that story. It's a fact. But when I got out, the first meal that I got after leaving prison was Jen cooked for me, Jack's wife, and people, I'm telling you, after 7 years of just really, really bad food, she cooked an Italian meal that was to die for. I mean, honestly, it was one of those things that you look up and you feel like. Like a savage. You're not sure if anyone at the table is taking a bite. You're like shoveling stuff in with both hands, and you haven't said a word in 5 minutes. I remember looking up and thinking, ooh, kind of looked like a, pretty foul. But it was an amazing meal, and it was just a beautiful thing. You know what I mean? I just left that crap place, and I was with, friends, two people I loved. It was, it gives you an idea, too, because... I was in there 7 years, and these friends, stuck by me the entire time, which is pretty amazing stuff, truthfully amazing stuff. So, to everybody that has come over from the Marfoogle family, if you don't know what that is, people, you got to go check out Marfoogle News. Look, no politics here, right? I've said it a million times, but I'm not crapping on anybody when I tell you that the approval rate for media in this country hovers at about 7%. For real. That means 93% of the country thinks that they suck, that everybody in the news sucks. Tom Selleck fan, is that a shot on my shirt there? It's probably legit. But so the news stinks. It really does. I don't care whether you're watching Fox or whether you're watching CNN or any of the others. The news sucks. But Marfoogle is really different. I mean, you want to see some people, talk about things in just raw honesty, like I don't care kind of stuff. Marfoogle's awesome. I really, really enjoy that, people. If you've never checked it out, you probably should. He's great at what he does. And I'll tell you something, in a lot of ways, openly, we've never denied this or anything else, but we have, in a lot of ways, structured the lifeboat off Marfoogle. In a lot of ways, because of how we do what we do, with the two of us, with me and Mark, Marfoogle was basically the template for that because they do it so well. I guess what do they say? Something is the most sincere form of flattery. What is it? Copying? I can't remember what the term is, but we absolutely copied them. In how we do what we do. We don't talk about the same stuff, but the format, we lifted directly from Marfoogle because it's just a great format and it works well. So, Yeah, welcome to everybody from the Marfugal family. And, this is we've been blessed. This is the second go around where we've been mentioned on their channel. And the first time, I think we picked up about 300 or so crew members. Is really, you get a really nice pickup anytime. Anytime they mention you, because they're a powerhouse. They really are. They're great. And good stuff. I'm telling you, check out Marfugal. You will thank me later, but you should definitely check it out. Let me see here. Imitation. Thank you. See that? Tim Reynolds has got my back. Imitation is the most sincere form of flattery. It's the word I was trying to get. You wouldn't know that I talk, would you? Right? Believe it or not, I used to talk for a living. Yeah. Then I got old. I'll cook for you anytime. We know you love you. You know what? And I'll take you up on that. I really will. It's got to be a good feel. You know what? The subject matter tonight, I mean, there's a reason that I chose friendship tonight. And it's obviously because, Jack's here in town. But one of the things that I get all the time from people, especially people that don't get it. Like if you've never been by the lifeboat, imitation is the most sincere form of flattery. That's the one I was working on, 7th. Thank you. Thank you, all of you. See, this is a beautiful thing about the lifeboat. If you stumble, there's always somebody to pick you up. But one of the things I get most often from people who, when people find out what I do, there are a lot of people who think I'm crazy. Like, you understand that. when you explain to people, honestly, in this day and age especially, if you say I have a YouTube channel, people just start giggling. So more often than not, I will just say that I work with people who are trying to get sober. I try to avoid the fact of telling people that it's on YouTube because everybody has a YouTube channel and they just sort of look at you like you're an idiot. But when people really find out what's going on, I answer emails from people all day long and I get a lot of messages. I mean, the lifeboat it's a full-time job. And people are always bewildered by the fact that I've built relationships with people at the level that I have here on the lifeboat. This is one of the things I think that most people people who are not around this have the harder time wrapping their brain around. And I get it because, and I've said this many times before on the show, but when I was putting this together, there were a few things that I didn't see coming. And one of them was the fact that I could build friendships in the way that I have. It really is amazing just how much everybody here has come to care for one another and always be there for one another. In many cases, more so than the real world, and if you had told me that, 7 or 8 months ago, it's not something that I would have seen coming. It's not something I would have believed. But as you go forward, we talk about having a support network when you're trying to get sober. When the storms come in life and you start feeling like, you're getting ready to use, that you need to have people you can lean on. You need to have people you can call. You need to have people you can reach out to and say, I'm in a bad place. I'm hurting. This is the reason that 12-step programs have become the gold standard for rehabilitation around the world, because you build relationships with people who are in the same boat and they're there to support one another. Well, we've sort of changed that a little bit and to do it online. Can you suggest some videos of yours to help someone coming out of long-term prison? It's hard. You know what? I don't know that I've ever done a video. I'm trying to think if I've ever... You know what, Sarah? Tell you what, you've got my email, right? If you've got someone that's coming out of long-term prison, I will more than happily work with them one-on-one. For real. I will. There was really nobody, and don't get me wrong, like I just said, Jack and Jen obviously were there for me instantly. But as far as somebody who had been in prison, who could tell me a little bit about what I was getting ready to face, there was nobody there. And I remember thinking to myself, they ought to have some kind of a mentor program from somebody that actually got out and didn't get sent back, because the recidivism rate is like, I don't know, in the feds, it's over 70%, right? So everybody goes back. I really thought they should have somebody that could just work with these people. And I would be more than happy to talk to somebody who's getting ready to come out, Sarah. Just drop me an email and we can work that out. Because that's really important stuff. It really is. And, to be really honest, and I'm not trying to bum you out or anything else, but he's facing a tough road, especially if there's, if he's got to do the halfway house thing and all of that. I've told the stories 100 times, to this day on my phone right now. If you look up, instead of saying Jack, it says DoorDash, right? Because, he used to help me so often at the halfway house. He'd come over with a pizza and, if I needed money or whatever, or, anything that, any kind of help I needed, Jack was always there to come over and deliver it in a pizza box or a box of chicken or whatever. He was always there for me. Sorry. Yeah, so again, just reach out to me on that, because I can't, off the top of my head, I can't think of any videos that, because some of my early stuff I talked about prison and I talked about coming out, but I don't know that any of that would help. Maybe I need to do one, right? Maybe I need to. No, it's food for thought. Maybe I need to do a video where I talk about nuts and bolts stuff for people who are getting out of prison, because there really is. It's a difficult process. It really is a difficult process, and I don't know whether he's coming out of the state or he's coming out of the feds, but in the federal system, there was nothing there to help you in any way. Hey, Rip Curl Readiness. Hello, my amazing friends. Good to see you all. Rip, so good to see you. We were talking about you yesterday. I was talking with my bobble-headed partner, and we were having a conversation, and your name came up. Still love that interview. The interview that I did with Rip. If you guys have never seen that interview, it's one of the best. It really is. It was such a great interview, and it should go hand in hand with what we did yesterday with the doc. Thanks, I will. Max with lockdown is hard. Yeah. Coming out of a lockdown is tough. Coming out of a longer one is even tougher. And then depending on what level of custody he was at, that makes it even more difficult. If you're coming out of a camp, you already had some level of freedom. If you're coming out of a supermax or something like that, the culture shock, to freedom is just ridiculous. But I'd be more than happy to work with anybody in that situation. Be more than happy to. In fact, I'm already doing that for somebody else on the boat. I just wrote to someone's brother who's incarcerated. He's got about 4 or 5 more years, but I figured I would get a jump start on it because I care quite a bit for his brother. So jumping in on that. So as I said, people, the gold standard for rehab is group, right? Because you need to have a support group, and in a best case scenario, that would be your family, right? As we've talked about so many times here, that very often isn't an option because we burn through families, right? We, when you're in the life and you're doing dope, you tend to lie to people and you tend to steal from people, and very oftentimes there are bridges that can't be rebuilt, or if they can, it's certainly not going to be people that you can call anytime you feel like you're about to use. And even if you have the best support family in the world, oftentimes they just don't have an appreciation for what you're going through because they haven't been there themselves. So, the old adage, well, you can't choose your family. You absolutely can choose your family. You can. I got a brother sitting in the other room right now. Not by birth, but that man is definitely a brother. So you can choose your family. Don't let anybody BS you on that. You absolutely can choose your family. And it is really important that you assemble a support family, a group of people around you, so that as you're trying to walk the walk, right, and live the best life you possibly can, these are people that aren't going to judge you when you call and say, you know what, I feel like getting high. Like today is that day. I really feel like getting high. If you call someone that doesn't, that hasn't been there and done that, that's a tough phone call to make, right? But people who really understand, they're not going to judge you for that. They're going to talk to you long enough to change your perspective, right? There's no magic bullet. Really, that's all anyone ever does, right? You talk to someone long enough, and usually they ask you questions that you've been asking yourself anyway. Are you really going to be better off if you decide to get high right now? Like, what are the options? What's going to happen if this doesn't go well? What's the worst case scenario, right? All of the things that you should be telling yourself. Very often, that's about all it takes to get somebody back on, back into a place where they're not going to use. So assembling a support family is probably nothing. It's the most important thing that you can do if you intend to stay sober. You have to have a plan. What are you going to do on the days where you're not making it? What are you going to do on the days where you really don't feel like you can get through the day? And if you don't have a plan for that right now, you're going to fail. Seriously. If you're not planning for that in advance, right? We did a video on this. We probably did 10 videos on this, but I recently did a video on organization, right? And what it means to be organized. Jack is laughing in the other room right now because if you could see my house, I don't look organized. But having a plan, having a game plan of exactly what you're going to do in every kind of situation, right? If you wait until you really feel like, hold on one second. What state's accent is that I hear come through from time to time? Are you suggesting I have an accent? Ha! That's ridiculous. I don't have an accent. If I did have an accent, and I don't, it would be from the Northeast, right? It's a New England accent. So, I often have people who assume it's Boston. It's not. People assume it's New York. It's not. It's that New England thing. It's like a conglomeration. I actually grew up for the majority of my life in Vermont. Well, the majority of my youth in Vermont. And it's kind of a melting pot of Massachusetts, Connecticut, New York, and then you get just a little bit of that sort of redneck stuff from up north. But yeah, people, if you wait until you really, really are thinking about screwing up and getting high, right? If that's the first time you wait till that moment to come up with your plan, you're going to get high. I promise you are. You have to know in advance what's going to happen on that day. I know who I'm going to call. I got a list. Boom, 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 boom. I go right down the list. First choice, second choice, third choice. Seriously. And I would recommend you do the exact same thing. Friends. You understand? Friends. And for the first time in my life, I'm a friend that you would want to have. You know what I mean? Because for the majority of my life, I wasn't that guy. I was not a guy you could count on. I was a guy liable to get you arrested. Ha, that's no offense intended. I'm just kidding, brother. I think it's funny anytime, I wasn't, no offense was taken. I definitely have an accent. And yeah, it comes out 14. 14's a word. There are certain words that I say that it comes out worse than on others. Sorry. Johnny said, when my grandma passed, I took it really hard and started to get drunk for about 5 years. You know what? So oftentimes it's that one thing, right? George in California here. We're part of the Wages Frugal fam. Just stopping by for a moment to say hi and God bless everybody. Carol West, so happy that you're here. Thank you for stopping by. As we were saying earlier, love the Marfugal family. Love to have all of you here. And of course, this is the Wages family. I don't think there are very few people here that aren't from Wages World. All right. There might be a couple. And if so, they're from Chase the Heat. There's a small little group of people. Right around the time I ate that disgusting foul fish, right? I think all of those groups all came together at once. But yeah, as you were saying, grandma passed. Very oftentimes there's one catalyst that starts the ball rolling. And what's amazing is 2 or 3 years will go by and it'll get to a point where you don't even remember what started the process, But yeah, having a game plan, having people in place, right? Having people in place that you can call. That's what friends really are. Friends are people that you can count on. When I'm passionate about what I'm saying, my accent speaks for me. I love the new folks. I do too. Love having new people here. You think my accent's bad now? When I get with people from that part of the country, forget about it. I mean, it gets really, really bad really quick. And I sort of morph in and out of different accents. Like if I spent 2 years of my life in a town called Southie in Massachusetts, right? South Boston. And if I get around anybody from that part of the country, not only do I start talking really bad, it'll last a couple of weeks. Wow, thanks to you all for such a warm greeting. Carol, you will find this is a pretty warm crew, truthfully. As far as it goes, I don't think you're going to find a better group of people anywhere on the internet. I love the Marfugel fam. I love the Wages World crew. The lifeboat is all of that. But we are all in the same boat. All right, we all have one thing in common. Most of us, not everybody. There are people here who've never had a drug or alcohol problem, but the majority of people here have. And that tends to when you get clean from that, you tend to drag the compassion, for addicts and people who are hurting with you, and I have always said, I believe that recovering addicts are some of the nicest people in the world. Tonight is the soberest I've been all week. Hey, Guy, it's good to hear, man. Seriously, I love that. I'm glad to hear that. I had friends from Boston, and I love the accent. Yeah, people from Boston do have they have a vicious accent. There's no getting around it. They like to leave the letter R off of almost anything if there's a vowel there. Like ka, ba, things like that. It's pretty bad. Hey, the Guy. One of the things that makes us different than almost every other sobriety channel I've ever seen is we don't send people away who are getting drunk or high. I mean, if you're here and you're partying, that's fine. It really is. It's never made sense to me that you walk into an AA meeting and they say, well, you look like you've been drinking, you need to leave. No, you need to stay, right? If you've been drinking, you need the meeting more than anybody in the world, but they kick you out. It's never been a really good idea. I clean the apartment and the dishes up, and it's a clean place now. Well, that's good, right? It's as sober as you've been and you're cleaning. See, back when I used to clean, there was usually some drugs involved in that too, but not anymore. Flamin' Jackson says, we are all here for you. I love you, Jackson. I really do. I don't know that I've told you that in a couple of days, but I do love you. Hey, I am the Noise Opera. I didn't see you here. Glad to see you. Alan Ballantyne, before I go tonight, make sure you shoot me a call tomorrow. Brittany has eyes. I'm here. So late. I love you guys so much. Brittany, I love it when you're here. When Brittany's not here, I don't get the yes. Right? Whenever Brittany agrees with something that I say, I usually get this yes. And it always makes me happy. Lets me know I'm doing something right. So I'm always happy when Brittany's here. And you know what? If you've never stopped by Brittany's channel, it's fascinating. You should do it. For real. Brittany has some videos that I love. Absolutely love. She's, you know what? I won't tell you. You should just go check it out. You really should. In fact, Brittany, if you want to put your link up there, you should do that. I would, but go ahead. Insert your favorite Technical Tommy joke here. You know what, people? We are at the top of the hour. So we're going to be wrapping this thing up. I want to thank everybody from the Marfugel family that has stopped by. Love that you guys are here. I really do. I will be back tomorrow night, I think. I'm not 100% sure on that. I think Mark may have said something about, I don't know. One of us or both of us will be here tomorrow night. Same bad time, same bad channel. We do it every night. So, once again, thank you. The sad thing, people, is you do know how I end every show, right? A couple of different ways. Number one, I say, between now and tomorrow night, you got one thing to do, right? Just one mission. It never changes. Reach out and try to save somebody. Unfortunately, I then, as promised, show you a cat in a basket. However, Squirrel Nut Zipper is somewhere unhappy and under a bed, I think. Been doing a lot of banging and drilling, and she's not very happy with me. Thank you, Captain. Hey, everyone. This is the best channel. I love this boat. You know what? I love this boat, too. I will see you all tomorrow night. God bless. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville. This was the Lifeboat. Take it easy.